how much do we truly know about the human body? Is it not intriguing to consider how many medical facts were once misconceptions? Today, we embark on a journey through time, revisiting 7 prime instances when medicine got it wrong. Our first stop is the Middle Ages, a time when a theory called miasma held sway. This theory posited that diseases were the result of bad air, tainted by rotting organic matter. The mere sniff of such air, they believed, could cause cholera, chlamydia, even the Black Death. This belief held strong from the squalor-filled streets of medieval Europe to the late 19th century. But alas, it was but a misconception, a mere whiff of misunderstanding. It was eventually replaced by the germ theory, which asserted that microorganisms, not miasma, were the true culprits behind diseases. Thus, the miasma theory, a mere whiff of misunderstanding, paved the way for the germ theory. Moving on to the 18th century, we encounter the second misconception: bloodletting. This practice, as bizarre as it may sound to us today, involved draining what was thought to be excess blood from a patient's body to cure a multitude of illnesses. From fevers to fits, bloodletting was seen as a panacea. Doctors would make an incision in a patient's vein and let the blood flow out, believing it would remove the bad blood causing the illness. This method, however, had no scientific backing. It was based on the ancient Greek concept of humours, which theorized that the body contained 4 fluids and disease was the result of an imbalance. Bloodletting was thought to restore this balance, but over time, as medical knowledge advanced, the flaws in this approach became glaringly obvious. Bloodletting caused more harm than good, often leading to severe anemia and sometimes death. Bloodletting, a misguided attempt at healing, was finally discredited in the late 19th century. As we step into the 19th century, we face not 1 but 2 misconceptions: teething fever and neurasthenia. Teething fever was once thought to be a deadly affliction, striking infants during their first foray into dentition. Yet, this was a medical misdiagnosis. The real culprits were likely common childhood infections, misattributed to the innocent act of teething. Moving on, what was neurasthenia? This was a blanket term, a catch-all diagnosis for a variety of symptoms like fatigue, anxiety, and even depression. It was believed to be a result of depleted nervous energy. However, as our understanding evolved, we realized that these symptoms were not manifestations of a single malady, but a spectrum of separate complex conditions. Teething. Fever and neurasthenia, 2 misguided diagnoses, were dispelled by the early 20th century. This marked a significant stride in our journey towards a more precise understanding of human health and disease. In the 20th century, 2 more misconceptions rose and fell: lobotomy and thalidomide. Let's take a deep dive into these medical blunders. Firstly, the lobotomy. Emerging in the early 20th century, this surgical procedure was considered a panacea for a range of mental illnesses. Doctors, in their misguided zeal, would sever connections in the prefrontal cortex of the brain, believing it would alleviate symptoms of mental disorders. However, the reality was far from this belief. While some patients did exhibit reduced symptoms, many others were left with severe cognitive and emotional impairments. The procedure was akin to playing Russian roulette with the human brain. The outcomes were unpredictable and often devastating. The advent of antipsychotic drugs in the 1950s brought about a much-needed shift in the treatment of mental health disorders. The medical community began to recognize the destructive nature of lobotomies, and the practice was largely abandoned. Then came thalidomide. Introduced in the late 1950s, this drug was marketed as a sedative and anti-nausea medication for pregnant women. It was proclaimed as a wonder drug, safe for both mother and child. Little did they know the havoc it would wreak. Soon after its launch, a wave of birth defects swept across the globe. Babies were born with deformed limbs, a condition known as phocomelia. The connection between thalidomide and these birth defects was undeniable. It was a catastrophic failure of drug regulation and a stark reminder of the need for rigorous clinical trials before releasing any medication to the public. The thalidomide disaster led to stricter drug testing regulations worldwide, ensuring such a tragedy would never be repeated. Lobotomy and thalidomide, two tragic missteps, were ultimately recognized as medical blunders. They serve as poignant reminders that science, while striving for progress, must always be guided by ethics and rigorous testing. The pursuit of knowledge and understanding should never compromise the well-being of those we aim to heal. In the 21st century, we grapple with the seventh misconception: vaccines cause autism. A claim fraught with controversy, yet thoroughly debunked by the annals of rigorous research. The fear of vaccines causing autism was ignited by a flawed and later retracted study from 1998. Since then, numerous research endeavors have been conducted, each refuting this unfounded claim. The Institute of Medicine in 2004 reported no credible evidence to support the link between vaccines and autism. Further, a 2013 study in the Journal of Pediatrics, scrutinizing the health records of over 950,000 children, found no correlation between vaccination and the risk of autism. Yet, despite the overwhelming evidence, the misconception prevails, fueled by misinformation and fear, causing a dangerous decline in vaccination rates and resurgence of once eradicated diseases. As we look back at our journey through these 7 misconceptions, we see a common thread: the undying quest for knowledge and the courage to correct our course. Each misconception, from bleeding to balanced humours to the erroneous vaccines cause autism, has left an indelible mark on the evolution of medical science. These missteps, while seemingly catastrophic at the time, have paved the way for advancements and breakthroughs. They have taught us to question, to probe, to never accept the status quo. In the face of these misconceptions, science has shown its resilience, its capacity for self-correction, and its relentless pursuit of truth. Our journey through medicine's past mistakes is not to deride, but to understand, to learn, and to appreciate the progress we've made. As we continue to debunk myths and misconceptions, we acknowledge the power of science in its ability to adapt, evolve, and correct its course. Science, a journey of constant revision, continues to correct its course. We invite you to join us on this journey. Thank you for watching. Please like this video and subscribe to SciSips for more such enlightening content.